Three things we're going to learn about today. One is what you should remember about Alberta is that we have beautiful mountains and beautiful mass spectrometers. And I'm going to tell you about how we leverage those mass specs. And maybe someday I'll get you all up to a conference in Banff where you can see these things in person. So without further ado, I'm going to answer the questions you came to the talk with. First is you want to know, why are we working with infectious diseases? The reason for that is that, well, this was a harder sell prior to COVID, but after COVID, I think we've all realized that pandemics can have a profound impact on our health and global economy. COVID isn't the only epidemic that's going on right now, though. There are some very problematic, slow-moving, but very dangerous pandemics that are going on right now in the space of antimicrobial resistance. So these scary curve here on the right, this is a plot of drug resistance over the last 20 years in Calgary. So that top sliver of the curve, like these are microbes that are carrying different numbers of resistance traits. That top sliver up there are isolates that we don't have any frontline drugs to treat. When those isolates become the standard isolates found in the healthcare settings, our standard of care for treating infections is going to regress by a half century. So sometime in the foreseeable future, life expectancy is expected to go down 20 years in Canada and the US as a direct result of antimicrobial resistance. And we really have to do things right now if we want to make any kind of correction. Why should we work on diagnostics? This should be a soft sell to this group, because naturally diagnostics is the most interesting thing to do. But there's some practical reasons too. If you work on fundamental problems, there's a tremendous amount of research that goes into fundamental problems like cancer, diabetes, metabolic syndrome. These are really important problems that kill a lot of people, but they're also really hard problems to solve. The neat thing about working in diagnostics is many times the technology that stands between you and a life-saving medical therapy is technology that may be 20 or 30 years out of date. The first time I walked around in a microbiology lab, they said, "We've got amazing new state-of-the-art stuff, MALDI." It's like, wow. So as a diagnostic expert, it's cool to work in this space. And then the third question you were asking me, why Alberta? Well, Alberta is cool. The reason is we have this beautiful consolidated healthcare system. So by working with our partners at Dynalife and APL, through this single connection now that we've consolidated under this network called ADEPT, we can access potentially any specimen or clinical record for every patient across the entire province in a single connection. And I'm going to show you in this talk and in the podium talk I give later how we've leveraged that to do some really large-scale translational science in a way that wouldn't have been possible to do elsewhere. So recently we launched this Alberta Center for Advanced Diagnostics, thanks in part to investments from Thermo Fisher and others. This is now the tip of the spear here on our effort to combat microbial infections. And we have in this a number of facilities, including this Calgary Metabolomics Research Facility, which is CIHR National core platform for microbiome research, the Diagnostic Prototyping Facility and others I'll show you. In total, we're supporting more than 75 PIs and lots of trainees, 110. So we have these beautiful new facilities here, which are always blue lit and perfectly clean and no chromatography waste. And the neat thing that's cool about these facilities is not only do we have this state-of-the-art mass spectrometry, but we also have facilities where you can make new diagnostic tools, so you can prototype them. And the thing that's really unique about them is all these spaces are integrated with working microbiology labs. They're all biosafety level 2, so you can actually put bugs into the mass spec live. It's a pretty unique environment. So the most recent addition to this Alberta Center for Advanced Diagnostics is this new diagnostic evaluation facility. This is really unique because it's a 3,000 square foot lab that directly adjoins Dynalife Medical Labs, which is our primary partner. So this is their South Sector hub where they do roughly half of the total volume of diagnostic testing in the province. So this is them on this side of the wall. On the other side of the wall is this new translational center where we can actually access samples and data and prototype new devices there in that space. These also beautiful new facilities there. Let's look at them. Okay, so what's the problem that we're working on? Currently, microbial diagnostics are slow. And this is now old hat to most of the people in the room if you're here, but let me give you a quick refresher. When you have a life-threatening bloodstream infection or a urinary tract infection, they take a sample, they take it out, you have to wait for it to grow until you get enough bacteria grown up that you can analyze it, and they ID it by moldy, and they take it out, they put another sample into a Vitek card or microbiota dilution, and you wait for it to grow. The problem is, this whole process takes anywhere from 2 to 4 days to complete to identify a microbe and to measure its antibiotic susceptibility. And in the case of bloodstream infections, every hour that elapses between the onset of symptoms and when you get the right therapy increases your odds of dying. So when clinicians guess wrong because of now increasingly prevalent antimicrobial resistant pathogens, your odds of dying can be as much as 8% higher per hour. So if you take an engineering view of this problem though, the real issue is that we're waiting for bugs to grow. So currently, which antibiotic should we do? Should we use for a patient? That depends on, we're waiting for the bacteria to grow up to densities that we can measure. So what's the theory? This is my grand Nobel idea. Bacteria eat and poop a lot faster than they make babies. So what we should do is not make diagnostic tools that are dependent on in vitro microbial growth rates. Instead, we should measure microbial metabolism. And the reason for this is microbial metabolites are bioamplified. They produce these nice molecules that we can measure at exquisitely low levels of concentration thanks to the mass spectrometry resources that we have at our disposal. And the other thing is they stop doing this when they're dead. So this was the genesis of this project. I'm going to take you through a multi-year journey from the not so profound insight here into what our version of a practical tool to do this. So to enable this concept, we developed this method we call the metabolic preference assays, developed by my senior scientist here, Tom Ridzak. And basically, we take microbes, we hold them at a fixed density, we put them in a defined medium, we measure the rates that everything comes in, everything goes out, and then we use those rates to tell us which microbe is which by analyzing those profiles, right? So how does that work? This is what it looks like. We make these beautiful things we call etograms, and you can see this distribution of metabolites that are either produced or consumed. This is 1,100 staph clinical isolates here. We're showing how stable these phenotypes can be when you control all the variables. And we've gone on now to take these microbial catabolic rates then as the baseline phenotype. And importantly, these phenotypes are different organism to organism. So you can see here, this is what staph looks like on the top, or you have Enterococcus or Kleb. So you can use these as basal phenotypes, and these metabolic fluxes are quite different from organism to organism. So we expanded this to a large panel of microbes that encompasses most of the bloodstream pathogens. We can found that there's, in fact, these univariate markers that we can use to distinguish all of the major classes of pathogens. These are all real-world clinical specimens here. The various N's are down there at the bottom. And we've now expanded that to over 90% of BSI pathogens. So we've found these same kinds of distinguishing markers for a large cohort of organisms. So can we identify microbes using metabolism? The answer is yes. The other not so Nobel idea is that dead things don't poop. And so the theory here is if you expose microbes to antibiotics, then they stop producing waste products. And they respond very quickly when you do that. Now, this theory should apply to both bacteriostatic and bactericidal antibiotics because you should have perturbations in the network. And so, in fact, if you do a very short-term incubation of microbes in the presence of antibiotics, you can indeed differentiate drug-sensitive from drug-resistant lines very quickly using these metabolic patterns. So these guys here, we're getting, in some cases, AROC curves of 1 and no crossover events at all in clinical cohorts, very large clinical cohorts. All these are real-world clinical specimens. So what we've done is we just marched through here. We found these classifiers that help us distinguish all these different cohorts. And using this now combined approach of metabolic preference assay and metabolic inhibition assay, we can identify microbes and measure the antibiotic susceptibility. So we spun out a company here in partnership with Dynalife Medical Labs and Thermo Fisher to help make this concept a reality. So Dynalife briefly is a consolidated diagnostic provider that's providing almost all the clinical testing in Alberta in this space. So they're partially owned by LabCorp, and yeah, they're a very large company that's been a great partner and behind this work. So the other partner that's been really important to us is Thermo Fisher. They've been providing these mass spectrometry platforms. They have this AltisMD platform that allows us to do this. Something that's really cool I put in this talk from this is that we've been placing these instruments at sites across Alberta. So we do our R&D in one site, and then we can roll it out and evaluate, do preclinical evaluations in clinical sites. I just put this in as these are the cal curves for 2 instruments at 2 different cities in Alberta. And we were, you'd use these to calibrate to measure the concentrations. But the neat thing about this is these instruments are really well engineered. These are the raw cal curves, no adjustment here in 2 different cities. So it makes our life a lot easier when our instruments are stable. So we've been working through a lot of technical challenges over the last several years in order to bring this LC-MS-based diagnostic platform into a clinical reality. A lot of this has to do with stabilizing chromatography to the point that we get very stable performance over large cohorts of samples. We have discovered the hard way that even things like your AC unit going out for a few hours one day can cause these baseline shifts in microbial phenotypes. So we've had to develop real-time monitoring software to make sure that our phenotypes stay very stable. And we worked very hard to find out how to condition the columns and how to get things to perform stably over thousands of injections. This is an example where we've figured out the number of injections needed to stabilize things here for cohorts of 1,000 injections or more. Okay, so that's the technical bit. The other part, so we launched these clinical trials, are all right, we're ready to go. And we're using Mueller-Hinton medium, and we sourced it all from clinical sources. And we started growing the microbes. And as it turns out, we started getting these batch effects. And we were sure that we had solved all the problems analytically. And the reason was that the Mueller-Hinton was actually different lot to lot. And that was affecting the metabolic phenotypes. And then we couldn't get our assay to work. And so we had to go back from scratch and re-engineer a medium for mass spectrometry that avoided this problem. So we made a defined medium for metabolomics analyses. And this just shows you that we can reproduce these phenotypes now using this medium. The other issue is that although we as researchers are used to using centrifuges and things like that in our clinical prep, if you talk to a clinical microbiology lab, they don't want anything to do with centrifuges. They're doing thousands of samples a day. They don't want any hands-on work. And so we had to figure out a way to do the analysis with touch-free. So we developed this really cool little plastic device here that allows us to put samples in. It's got a semi-permeable membrane, got a couple of wells in it, and allows us to analyze samples in real time on the mass spec, grow the bugs on the bottom, analyze the metabolites on the top, touch-free, so there's no sample prep. So this microbial containment device. So this is what it looks like doing some injections here using this product. Also had to figure out how to do the analysis in a way that microbiology lab technicians who are not mass spectrometry experts can push a button and get usable results. And we've been working with Thermo Fisher's automation team, which are really fantastic, and leveraging some of the software tools they built for their COVID automation platforms here to do that. So in summary, over the last many years, we've taken this concept and we've developed a growth medium, a sampling system, an automation system, and this new mass spectrometry platform for automating the microbial identification susceptibility testing. And that has ultimately allowed us to have a workflow where you take a sample, dilute it, put it in a plate, put it in the mass spec, it gives you an answer. So that just leaves one important question, does it work? And the answer is yes. We've had many blinded trials now using this 1,000+ patient cohorts from our partners at DynaLife and Alberta Precision Labs. And every time we've done one of these trials, we discover something new, like if you leave the blood culture bottles out over a weekend and then sample them on Monday, actually they don't perform very well. And when microbiologists group up a whole bunch of different species under a particular name, and we analyze things by species level, as it turns out this doesn't work. So we've had to go through a lot of iterations to get to this point. And actually, we're just launching a new preclinical trial with DynaLife, and we expect that their performance is going to be very good on this next round. The other thing that's important is it's a lot faster. Head-to-head blinded trials, same sample, we're 30 to 40 hours faster than DynaLife's pipeline, automated pipeline, in head-to-head races. This works for both bloodstream infections and urinary tract infections. And so this is a summary. We built all these tools. We're so close now. Nearly. We have our instruments working in Alberta, so we're just a few steps away from getting the first real-world actionable platform here for automating microbial identification susceptibility testing 40 hours faster than current pipeline. There are a few other things I snuck in here at the end. All the stuff, R&D stuff that we've been doing along the way has a lot of value as R&D tools in addition to clinical diagnostics. This metabolic preference assay I told you recently has been really cool for doing microbiome analyses that we've been doing intensively with Kathy McCoy. We've got a cool paper in Science about a checkpoint inhibitor. We've got all kinds of different projects we've done recently where we took a germ-free mouse and then recolonized it and measured the metabolic contribution of microbes at every site in the mouse, which is pretty cool. That one just came out. And we modified this MCD device recently that allows us to make these synthetic mixtures of communities, and then they can exchange their metabolic waste products, and by measuring the difference in concentration above and below the well, you can actually create pooled community dynamics, but find out what every individual microbe does in the pool. It's really cool because prior to this, if you have pools of microbes, you couldn't figure out what microbe is doing what. In this particular context, we can pull out these 3-way, 5-way, 6-way dynamics using this simple device. The other thing we've been doing recently is we teamed up with this group called Nimble that has a swallowable capsule that'll sample the microbiome as you go down. And as it turns out, this is a really cool substitute for endoscopy. So we've been teaming up with them to show that these Simba capsules give you very nearly the same kind of data that you get from endoscopy. And so we're using this now as a new platform. But all this is leveraging this same technology base that we developed for this rapid diagnostic project. With that, I'd like to thank the people who actually did the work here. Tom and Ryan, Raid are just critical to all the work that I showed you there. And I'd also like to thank Thermo Fisher, who has been an amazing supporter of this project ever since the beginning. And this was them here at our ACAD launch. And yeah, I'm very grateful, especially to Shen, Paul, Gina, Brad, who have been here every step of the way. And yeah, we're thrilled to be working with you.